should just bring them on now.
Okay.
All right. All right. Cool.
There it is.
Now can y'all hear us? Let's make sure they can hear us. If anything, let me test. Y'all can hear us?
Let's see.
Okay.
They can't see me?
Nah, just give them a minute because it's just probably just
Okay.
went live. So they should be able to respond back.
Okay.
Let me test. Y'all can hear us?
Oh,
you on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, it's on the YouTube feed, so I can see it on the YouTube feed.
They can see it. They can hear you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, real quick. You still got your YouTube on?
Let's see. Yep. It's on.
Because we're gonna get the background and all that.
Yeah, it's on the YouTube feed, so I can see it on the YouTube feed. All right, so we should be good now.
Sorry about that. All right, so first off, my apologies, guys. I told you I'm newbie. Still trying to figure this thing out.
You need to get one of those cue cards that says technical difficulties. Please stand by.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second, brother. All right. Sorry about that. I was trying to turn off my YouTube because I was getting feedback. My apologies, guys. Yeah. So, there's a delay on that. So it should be good now. Anywho, my apologies. First off, I've told y'all, give me some grace. I'm playing with the system, getting familiarized with it and all that other stuff. You missed my whole video I had in the beginning. It was nice and smooth and all that. Man, dang. That's not the point. But I got X-Man on here. He was just giving us a little bit of information about him, how he started, and then how he's even got involved in this. And I don't want y'all to miss that. We can always go back, but I ain't even recording any of that part. So, X-Man, if you don't have any problem, please share with the people exactly who you are, how'd you get involved, and why you even still here at the same time. And I'll try to see if I remember the questions I asked you after that.
Okay. Government name, Douglas Hawkins Jr., 63, going to be 64 in June. Originally from Baltimore, Maryland, so shout out to my Beemore family. Born and raised there, stayed there until I was in my mid-teens. And then Mom and I moved from Baltimore to Jersey, where I spent my rest of my high school, college, and work years for about 45 to 50 years. And then December 2023, moved down here to Jacksonville, Florida, and got married to my wife, Vicky, who's in the back. And I have absolutely no complaints about what God has done. He has done amazing things since I've been down here. So I basically have no complaints at all.
All right. And then how'd you end up getting into soul line dancing?
Soul line dancing, I got into by accident. I was actually put on sabbatical from running when I was living in Trenton, New Jersey, down in South Jersey. And I was told about line dancing classes over in Burlington and introduced from a college friend of mine. And the following week, I went to class, and that's at the atrium, and that's where I met Kenny J for the first time. And I went to his classes, and I got hooked. And the very first dance I learned, which is still my favorite, is Metamorphosis. So every time that comes on, I still get on the floor and do that 20 plus years later. And through all my line dancing travels and everything, meeting some great people. And 2012, formed Step for Step Soul Line Dancers with a couple of other folks. And here we are 13 years later, still going strong. And now we have a following in Jersey as well as here in Jacksonville.
Okay. And I asked you earlier when you got involved, was there any men dancing at that time?
Yes, there were. Yeah, there were, especially in the Philadelphia area where I was really learning and cutting my teeth. Yeah, the brothers were out there strong. They really, really were.
Okay. All right. Because that's not common today. So that's why I wanted to know in that. And then you mentioned Step for Step. Now, how did that even get started? How did you end up getting?
Well, Step for Step, we had some people we had known for a while. And we actually started when I moved from South Jersey to North Jersey. and there were really no classes going on. And I started going to Naja Riker's class, line dancing with Naja, and danced with her for a few years. And then a couple of people who were also going to that class, four of us got together and we just said, there was an opening at a location in East Orange. They were opening a new field house. And so four of us, myself, Daniel Inman, Jill Barrick, and Andrea Mason, got together, and Step for Step was formed not too long after. And we've been going strong. Like I said, this fall we'll be celebrating 13 years.
Wow.
I think right now we have almost 100 members between Jersey, here. We have a member in Maryland. We also have a member in Texas.
Wow. Wow. So with the whole shift of you moving to Jacksonville,
Mm-hmm.
was the was and I'm not saying that wasn't the intent, but also was the goal was to create a Step for Step here in Jacksonville as well?
Well, once I got myself settled, because once you get here, you have priorities. You got to find a job, got to make sure it's set. And,
Right.
there are just things that, God puts things in order for you to do. So the
Right.
last thing on that list of priorities was a dance class. Once
Okay.
everything else fell into place, God opened the door for a class at the Williams YMCA. And that's when it started. And I started, it's been a year, April now. Actually, this month, it's been a year since it's been at the Y.
That's
And
what's up.
since then, people who have been coming to the class have been showing interest. And so when we had our membership opening towards the end of last year to this year,
Hmm.
more people were very interested. And so now we have 6 members total who are part of Step
Okay.
for Step. So we lovingly call ourselves Step for Step South because we're down here and most of the people are up north. We have had some interest in people wanting to join now, but we have to
Hmm.
wait until like December. But we have at least another 4 or 5 people interested in joining the group. So it's one of those
Mm.
things where, timing is everything. When God put things in place, he does things his time and his order. And so while it wasn't a priority for me to start
Hmm.
line dancing when I got down here as far as teaching classes, once everything else fell into place, then the door started to open for other classes or other individuals to come and join. And the class we
Yeah,
had now tonight, we had about 25 people in the class
that's
we
what's up.
came from. So yeah.
That's what's up. So 2 questions so I don't forget.
Hmm.
And hopefully I don't forget because I say I don't like to forget. But the first question is, I know I do it all the time. You
Yeah.
said something about membership.
Hmm.
And first of all, what does that look like when it comes to someone becoming a member? And second question, so I don't forget, is how were you received in bringing a class in a new city amongst the other classes and line dance groups that's within the Jacksonville area? Was so.
Okay. As far as membership to the group is concerned, there are certain perks, just like American Express card. You get certain perks. So there is a form you fill out. There's a waiver. Um, we encourage people, if they're going to be a part of Step for Step, they can't be a sign-in member of another group. Doesn't mean you can't support that group, but as far as the membership goes, we would like for you to be exclusive just for us.
Mm,
People have come and gone, because life happens. People go, people come back, and we've
mhm.
had a couple of members who had gone away because life stuff happens, have come back in droves. This particular membership drive we just had. And what was your second question? So I make sure I answer it correctly.
The second question is, how were you received in Jacksonville when you started to open a group, set up a group here?
We started going to other people's events before we started the class here,
Hmm.
and the reception has been great. And I think one of the best things we did was last year we had, I think it was in the month of March, we had instructors in Jacksonville come and teach at our class for that whole month.
Hmm.
We had a guest instructor
Wow.
every week. We had Poseidon came one week, um, Roz Higgins came one week, Rob came another week, and the other lady's name, I can't remember her name now. The Storm Effect, TSA, she came one week. And that just
Okay.
opens the door up, for everybody to come, and just celebrate and just enjoy dancing together, see who we are, as
Right.
far as, what we do at the Williams Y. And it really was successful. And so now the support has been really great. So
Right.
Miss Brenda has been very supportive. Will, who does the Fourth Fridays over in the other side of Jacksonville. We just
Hmm.
make ourselves, accessible, and we go support everybody when we can. And I think that really kind of breaks down, your event, and all that. So, and to me, being open in a hospital kind of break down any wall that might be up with a person. You know what I mean? And it's not about me. The classes are never about me. It's about the people that come to enjoy dancing for that hour, the hour and a half that I have them for that time. I just want you to have fun. Whether or not you get the steps is secondary. And I just said this to the class that we just had a couple of minutes ago. I said, the most important thing we want you to do when you come to these classes is to have fun.
Right.
That's the most important thing. The steps will come, the memory will come, and all that kind of stuff. But if you don't have fun when you come to the class and laugh, because we all laugh at mistakes, and I always say, line dancing is one of the few things you can mess up in and still have fun doing.
Right. I agree, definitely. So before we continue, I want to give a shout out to Janita, aka the Content Alchemist, one of the biggest supporters we have. She basically shot a donation. Just so y'all know, if y'all didn't know this, we are officially monetized now, so you can actually support the podcast and the live. This will help us pay for what we doing and continue to do what we do at the same time. But even if you can support us as far as financially, like Janita said earlier, like it, share it, all that stuff helps too. So we definitely appreciate that. But yeah, man. So let's talk, because it's so much I want to really talk to you about. I seen a lot of videos of you back in the day with Kenny J. I'm like, man, this brother been in the gang for a minute, man. And how? Let me first, so I get into what I want to get into. How was that experience? Working with Kenny J and being a part of what I am Kenny J. You know what I mean? Just the whole establishment in itself. How was that experience for you?
With Kenny, I found out how big line dancing is. And I'll give you an example. When I first started dancing with him, he had always stated that I needed to go to United We Dance. Okay. Now, I have been to, Kenny had a symposium every now and again, and I would go to places in Philly, like Club Contation, I would tell you. Bernadette Burnett, who's my RD, went to her classes. Went to, before there was We Dancing over here, there was the Parkside Experience with Chris Blues and Hassan Abdul Rahim. I went there. I was going everywhere in the Philadelphia area. So Kenny had mentioned that I would need to go to United We Dance, which unfortunately is not around anymore. But United We Dance, he says, you think this is good here, wait till you go out there. And so he chartered a couple of buses and went out. I think it was Cleveland. For some reason, I'm thinking it's Cleveland, but I could be mistaken. But that was the first United We Dance event I went to, and I met like Curtis Good. I met Jerome Bentley. I met Linda and Bill Schuler. God rest his soul. They were the first couple I met when I went to United We Dance, and they were just so open to me. And there were so many Nicole Points I met, and all these other dancers that I had met. I was out there, and the thing that really got me, they had a balcony on the floor, and they had 2 floors. And for the life of me, I can't remember what song came on, but a song came on, and everybody rushed to the floor. And there were 4 different sections of dances being done on the same floor to this one song.
Wow, that's crazy.
And I wish I could remember. I can't remember for the life of me what song that was. When I saw that, I was hooked. Because, coming from a club environment, New York City, clubbing and all that, you step on somebody's foot, they're ready to fight you.
Right.
That kind of thing. So seeing that happen, where you have 4 different groups of people, everybody sharing the same floor, doing their own thing, and doing it for the love of dancing and still getting along, that completely blew my mind. And after that, I was hooked.
I love it. Hey, I love it. And that's understandable, because I think I share a similar experience of just being introduced to the community when I went out of state, and just seeing the love of everybody coming together the way they did. And it was we just wanted to dance, and everybody, I'm talking all ages. That was just crazy to me. So I can only imagine the feeling of seeing that from your position. That's crazy. And all that. Yeah. So let's talk on, like, let's get into it. competition. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Kenny J, he spoke on how he felt about competition, and that it's definitely have its what would you say, its
Pros and
space
cons.
here. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it has the pros and cons definitely, but it has its space within the community. And
Mm-hmm.
as you can see in the community, a lot of them kind of frown on it because they're afraid of the division that it may create within the community at the same time. And
Okay.
so I know you've been with Kenny J on a few competition events at the
Yes.
same time, performed
Mm-hmm.
with him at the same time. So what's your take and your feel on competition?
Well, when I started, that was the theme, the competitions and everything. But
Mhm.
I think because of the, like you said, the division that it caused, it kind of just went away on its own. I don't know who stopped it. I don't know who thought about stopping it, but it seemed like once the competition stopped, line dancing seemed to explode even more than it did because it
Mhm.
wasn't based on who did better than what. It was based of everybody doing a dance together on the floor. And
Mhm.
when you look at it from that perspective, that's really all you want. You just want people to come out, enjoy themselves. They're coming from all different parts of the country. And the last thing they want to do is come into some crazy drama because somebody
Right.
does something better than somebody else.
I
To me,
agree.
it's not really about that. It's like you meet so many great people. I mean, people who you like see on YouTube. Like the first time I met John Woodhouse, I only seen John
Mhm.
Woodhouse on YouTube. When I finally met him in person, it was great. And the same way you saw him on YouTube is the same way he is in person, you know? And
Yeah.
so seeing that, is really great. So I think competition does have its place a little bit, but it's not the end all and be all anymore.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I know for me, when I seen competition out and I know how the community spoke to me about it in regards to it, they always was like, no, we don't do competition
Mm-hmm.
because it's all about the love and everything. And that's what I also communicate to people as well too,
Mm-hmm.
because I know what competition feel like. Shoot, I used to play basketball at the same time.
Right.
But after listening to Kenny J, one of the things, and I'm sure you heard, was he said was that, if you can't compete with certain, and I'm paraphrasing just so you
Mm-hmm.
know, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like if you can't compete and if you compete with someone and you feel like you can't walk away with your head up high or this, that, and the other as far as losing or whatever the case, then
Mm-hmm.
you are the problem. You are the issue or whatever the case may be. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like it's a different mindset for those who actually compete. They can applaud
Right.
and say good job, but they can show appreciation to the winner at the same
Right.
time. And
Yeah.
not everybody can do that because sometimes they're sore losers and all that stuff. So I mean, what's your thoughts in regards to that, if anything?
Let me tell you something. As a long-suffering Carolina Panthers fan, I know all about losing. Okay. Uh, and like I said, to me, it's you get out of it what you put into it. So
Okay.
if you're going into it with that mindset of like, well, I'm not going to support because I didn't win.
Mm,
You got to kind of think about what's the real reason why you're dancing in the first place. Are you really dancing just to win, or are you just dancing to enjoy the people who are dancing on the floor with you?
right.
Um, there really there shouldn't be any room for negativity like that because
Okay.
life is too short, and I think COVID taught us a lot about that. We lost so many good people in the line dance community during COVID. It was just insane.
Right.
And I think as a result of that, people have learned to enjoy life more because you don't know when your last day is going to be. You
I
don't know if
agree.
this is the last event you're going to go to.
Hmm.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, enjoy the time, enjoy that moment, enjoy the people, enjoy the music, give props to whatever groups is doing whatever. They're doing
Right.
something for the community, you know, applaud them for that. If they're doing one thing, applaud them for that. There's
Right.
so much more to be gained by positive thoughts than by negative ones.
I agree. I agree. And also, thank y'all, the guests that are on here. Make sure y'all like, subscribe as well too, and share so we can get more people involved. But if y'all do have any questions, make sure you put them in there. I want to try my best to address them. So we can address that. And also shout out to Spin Mo for the donation. We do appreciate you. We appreciate you too. Now, and I want to stay in this competition topic because wouldn't the UC be considered competition though? I mean, they recognize and they giving awards. They got a whole ballot and everything else, which encouraging people to like do more, create more in order to win. They do, and they go. People who win go all out.
In my eyes, no. Only because in my eyes, competition is like, you're really beating yourself up and trying to get this just for that medal. To me, the UC Star Awards are just recognizing people who are doing the work. Like when I create a line dance, when Vicky and I create a line dance, we're not doing it for an award. We're doing it because we felt the music, we got the steps, we really like the dance, and we put it out. That's what we do. We have no vision of saying, okay, this is going to beat somebody else in another region for an award. That's not why we create, at least from my perspective in my heart.
Right.
I've created dances over the last 20 years. Some were good, some were bad. But the fact of the matter is I don't do it because I want an award. I do it because that music hit me. It hit my brain. It hit my feet. It hit the floor, and I put it out. That's it. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, that's fine too, because you're not going to like every dance you see out there. You're not going to like every music you like out there. There are some songs I can't stand the words because my holy ears can't take the lyrics. But it doesn't make it a bad dance. It's just that I can't listen to the music. And I always ask, is there an instrumental version or is there a clean version that I can use? Because a lot of times where I teach, when I was in Jersey, I had classes where they had kids in them. So I can't teach a dance and just got filth, foul, filth every 15 seconds in the song. You know what I mean? So I have to have something that's what I would say is user friendly to everybody that's coming to learn dances. So that's my take on it. To me, competition is award based, but UC Star Awards is recognition for what is being contributed to the line dance community.
Right. And shout out to Alexa. She said UC is about recognition. Now, people's motives to create may come from trying to compete, but that's a people's problem, not a UC problem. So I definitely
agree.
Feel you. Feel you on that. Let's see, is there? I'm trying to read. Is it showcase? Okay, I like what our content asked me and said it's a showcase. Is there to transform the community. So I'm definitely interested if anything else. Also, I definitely feel you on that. I know when I first got involved, that was definitely an intent to get our dance out there and try to get ourselves in position. I think I got humbled my first year to the point where I decided that the reward isn't the reward that the UC gives you. The reward you get is when you see people from different states actually doing your dance, man.
That part.
Like,
part.
And that right there stood out the most, because I'm talking about where do you go where you make a creation and you got people way across the coast that says, hey, can you send me what all the instructionals and the essentials of what we say just to learn and teach people in a whole different state? Like, that's not common. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. And so when you ask to get booked to come teach your dance at their event or at their class, that's rewarding. You know what I mean? And that's the lesson I learned after the fact.
I think the first time that happened with me, my son and I, Isidore, who is now 27, we created a dance called God's Gift. And that dance, that was my first gospel line dance. And the reason that dance was created because Isidore is a cancer survivor. And so at that time, he was 17 years, I believe, cancer survivor. And he was in college. And I heard this song by this gospel saxophonist, and the vocals was by Kelly Price. And so he was in college, and he really wanted to do a dance. Out of all my children, he's the only one that line dances. So,
Oh, wow.
and so when he got done with his schooling, he was like, "Okay, Dad, can we finish the dance that we created?" We did the dance. People really loved it. And then we got notification from a young lady in California who hit us up and said that we did your dance, and
Wow.
she sent us a video. So I immediately contacted Isidore and said, "Isidore, our dance is in California." So it was, and I had
Wow.
never had anybody do any of my dances that far away,
Wow.
So when that happened, you get humbled, you appreciate it, you're thankful, and then you go on.
Wow. That's what's I agree.
Mhm.
I agree. I want to tap into something. First of all, I know you mentioned that you and your wife has been a year married as
Mhm.
of February 14th. So who chose
Mhm.
14th? Yeah, y'all, is that the only way you can remember the year, the date, and all
No,
that stuff?
it was something when we first got together and when we got down here, we had not intended on getting married. It was just come down here and just do whatever. But we went to a marriage conference, although we were still single. We went to a marriage conference, but we had always said, if God ever placed on our heart to get married, would you? And we both said, yes, sure. So we went to the conference and God spoke to her in one way and God spoke to me in another way. We came back together and said, okay, let's get married.
That's
Done. And
beautiful.
February 14th was there. We got married right here in the house in the backyard.
Mhm.
And, just staying on what God says you should do. And that's what we did. And ever since then, God has shown us time and time again, when you follow his precepts and his guidance and his word, doors are going to open for you. Things are going to happen within your own marriage. You're going to be learning about each other and doing things together.
Right.
And the blessing behind that has been, I can't even put it into words. I mean, sometimes I'll be with Vicky and I'll just start crying because of the fact of how God has blessed us. And
Right.
now, instead of me being solo for all this time, doing things on my own, now that we're together, we seem to be doing more together than we were when we were separate.
That's how it is. That's how it is. So let
Mhm.
me ask this question before it spins, Vicky, and everything else. You were in the community. You was in line dancing. By
Mhm.
any chance, during that season, were you with someone before and line dancing at the same time,
Yep.
and have any conflict in the fact that you line dance so much?
Yep. There was, because I was always teaching and I always had 4 or 5 classes a week. I was working 2 jobs at that time. So I was always busy. And
Mm,
so, yeah, it took strain on some relationships, but I had to stay true to who I am. And one
okay.
thing you can't do, you have to stay true to who you are. And in time, after those relationships ended and I was on my own, I had to come to the realization that I was doing too much. When I came down here, Ricky tells me I had suitcases under my eyes when I got
Wow.
here because I was
Wow.
doing so much. But I was working 2 jobs. I was working a full-time job during the day, then teaching a class, then going to work at Amazon at night from 8 to 2 o'clock in the morning, coming back
Mm,
home, getting up the next morning, exercising because I still
mm,
exercise, doing exercises at 5 a.m., going to
mm,
work, and the repeat cycle happened over and over and over and over and over again. And so it got to the
mm,
point where my body wasn't getting tired, but you can see the stress that it was having on my face. And then,
mm,
weight gain and all that was happening. And so certain situations happened where I was living, and it was just God's way of saying, I can't do with you what I need to do with you if you stay here.
mm.
I,
Okay.
I, I have to remove you from what you got comfortable with so I can get you to a better place. And
Mm,
since that move has happened, that is exactly what's happened. Even before I got down here to Jacksonville, um, my thing was I'm old school. I'm not going to move anywhere without a job. That's just how I was
mhm.
raised.
Right.
But then Vicky said, get here and God will make a way for you to get a job. So
Amen.
by the time I got down here, I had 2 interviews with a span of a week that I was here. Mayo Clinic, which is where I work at now, I
Mhm,
went to an interview with them the week after I arrived. Before I
mhm.
left the campus on the first interview, they invited me back for a second interview. I hadn't got out of the parking lot yet. They called me on the cell phone and said, can you come in for a second interview this week? So that whole
Right.
week, I had 4 interviews with Mayo Clinic, and I got
Mhm.
hired the next week.
That's beautiful. That's a
So,
blessing, bro.
you know, I had to learn to listen to God more than what I had been and doing my own thing. And so
That's what's up.
when that happened, that was the beginning of everything falling into place up into and including now line dance classes. So we have one at the Y. I teach one at Mayo. We just started one in the 55 plus community in Watersong. And now we're in conversation now to have another class in another community over here in the St. Louis
Jeez.
area.
Jeez,
So God,
man. You gotta do
God
it.
is just opening things up and just doing things because of my obedience to him. And I thank him every day for everything that's been happening.
Amen. Amen. Well, that's definitely beautiful to hear because at the end of the day, you know, it's good to know that you're moving according to his will at the same time. So it's nothing
Absolutely.
but respect on that because, you know, a lot of opportunities come with that anyway. So
Hmm.
definitely appreciate that. And I was just curious, the reason why I asked that question, because I run into couples. Matter of fact, I don't even run into, I run into women, you know, we have women in our class and they're in relationships and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Oftentimes, like, fortunately, I'm blessed now, where, you know, I have my partner and we both are in this thing.
Hmm.
But there was a time where I had someone and I was in it, but she
Hmm.
wasn't in it. And the
Okay.
strain that it brings to relationships at the same time, you know, to the point where it was like, either I have to let this go or I'm gonna have to let you go. You know what I mean?
Ooh. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's just what we had to do. What we had to do. You know.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
this was my passion. This was what I truly love. This was what gave
Right.
me freedom and liberation and all that stuff. So, like with people who are in those relationships, like how do you communicate with them if they have similar situations?
Yeah. Um, I think that having someone with you who is on your same page and supports you and understands where you are and why you are and who you are and whose you are is
Mhm.
so important. I cannot put an emphasis on how important that is.
Mhm.
Um, we get up, we pray every morning. We do not leave this house without covering each other in prayer. We do not go to sleep without covering each other in prayer. We work in ministry at our church together and we pray before we operate any equipment. So I cannot tell you how much being on the same page with someone is less stressful than some being with someone who's not.
I agree. I agree, definitely, man.
You
Hey,
understand?
hey, bro, I understand. It's very peaceful. I'm like, man, I couldn't ask for anything greater, you know. So let's take a switch if anything else. So in the
Mhm.
community, we have a lot of noise, a lot of talk about trail riders, right?
Okay.
So it's a lot of
Mhm.
talk about that.
Mhm.
They've been around, to my understanding, they've been around for a long period of time. But
Mhm.
then now you have the younger folks, which is the steppers. And I think I
Mhm.
read um, an interview on you in the past where you said your desires as far as the change in the movement or change in the community, that we'll have more of the youth involved in our
Absolutely.
community at the same time. Now that we have the youth involved into
Mhm.
line dances, from what you're seeing from the steppers and the soul line dancers, um, and the way they're doing things. Like, first, what's your view or your attitude towards them now coming into this community the way they're coming in?
Let me tell you something. There was a time when what we are doing now was looked upon with a side eye.
Mm,
Like, what are they doing? Why are they? Who? What? Where? Why? So
mm,
every, well, I'll say dance generation, something comes up that's something new, then becomes mainstream.
mm,
Soul line dancing was something new. Now it's become mainstream. Now trail riders is something new. It's going to become
mm,
mainstream. It happens. It's dance evolution, and you have to be open to that. If you don't like it, that's your choice. But you got to realize I'm 64 now. We're not going
mm,
to be doing this forever. There's going to be a time, and eventually my wife and I are going to say, you know what? We're tired. We're
mm,
done. We want to retire and just enjoy ourselves. Will that
mm.
happen? Probably not. But
Right,
I'm just using that as an example. Okay.
right.
And so when you have young people doing anything positive, support them. Whether because we have enough of our children being shot at, drugs, guns, all that kind of stuff, and all you ever hear about is the negative about our young people. The positive will be this much, the negative will be this much, and that's sad. It should be the other way around. The positive should be this much, and the negative should be this much. So these young folk doing what they do, as long as they ain't hurting nobody, and they're bringing people off the street, and they're gathering things together, leave them people alone. Let them do their thing. If they're doing something positive and it's something that's bringing people together, leave them alone. Don't let them do their thing.
Right. So let me ask you this question, because you hear a lot of the community talks about the fact that they lack the knowledge and education pertaining to our community and our culture. And they say that sometimes when it comes to them actually taking songs that are considered classics and doing their own spin, their own dance and such, and all that other stuff. And, some, not all, but some people in the community get, in this uproar, like, oh, that's disrespectful. Somebody need to teach them, and so on and so forth. Like, how do you feel in regards to seeing that community steppers doing way things that they're doing?
Listen, as an instructor, and you can attest to this, one thing that I've always said is, as an instructor, you never stop learning. You're never too old to teach, and you're never too young to learn. So now, if those in the soul line dance community have an issue with that, then take that same issue and energy and take it and teach it to somebody, if that is what you wish to do. But like Kenny said, who made us judge and jury about what other people are doing when it comes to the dance community? There's, last I heard, and I've been at 20 plus years, I don't know anybody who's all in all over the soul line dance community. You learn from different people. And so if it's something that really gets your goat that badly, go to an event and talk to somebody instead of beating down on them, because you don't know what you don't know. And so they're enjoying themselves. And on top of this, I'll give you this too. How many times in the soul line dance community have we had a song that in the East Coast, they do one dance. In the South, they do another dance. In the Midwest, they do another dance. In the Southwest, they do another dance. In the West Coast, they do a dance. It's to the same song.
Right.
Who are you going to try to throw the gavel at for that? You can't do that, because that's based on where they are. It's regionally based. So in that same vein, when it comes to the trail artists, and I don't know a whole lot about them outside dances that I know my classes love, and I do them because that's what you're supposed to do. As I said, let them be them. If they want to learn more about us, we have to be open to them to let them learn about us. If we're going to be so high and mighty saying we're going to be closed door to them because they're not doing something we like, who's the bad person here?
Good point.
Okay. Good point. So in other words, you have to be open to them just in case they do want to say, you know what, well, we might want to do something, but because, you're also high sedity, what we used to say back in the day, and you're also old, you don't want to open your knowledge base to us. We're going to keep doing what we're going to do, as I said, because you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't take the time to teach them, how are they going to know?
Gotcha. I agree, definitely. And I think they're willing to experience it. But like you said, we have to put ourselves in that position to communicate with them at the same time. And not so much in a way where we telling them this is the way it goes, but just more so sharing the knowledge and the information. You know what I mean? So, because that don't work.
Yeah.
So, and what is because you mentioned an example about different regions doing line dances to the same song. And I know some people feel that creates division within the community when you don't just have one dance to one song. Anything. Some people don't like the split floors and all that stuff. Like, what's your response and take on that?
I actually like the split floors. I like to see what other people doing. Like, I'll give an example here. We could do the dance called Circle City Stepping, or AKA Blow the Whistle. I know the dance that I know to blow the whistle, right? Circle City Stepping. When we go to events here, they do a kind of a more beginner style dance to it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but that still won't stop me from doing the dance that I know. You know what
Right.
I mean? So there's no reason why the floor still can't be shared just because you're doing something different from what you learned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not from here. I wasn't raised in Jacksonville. I don't have the line dance experience of Jacksonville. So
Right.
what I'm bringing to the table is what I know from New York, from Jersey, from Philly, from Delaware. That's what I'm bringing down here. And
Mm-hmm.
so if someone wants to learn what I know, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
more than willing to show them. If they don't, still go ahead and do you, and I'll do me,
Right.
and we'll have a good time on the floor. I
Right.
don't
Right.
understand
I
what
agree.
the issue is.
I agree because there's times that me personally, I don't really feel too much about split floors per se.
Mhm.
Um, I think for me, it gives me the opportunity to learn and see different styles of dances because there's a dance you'll see one dance that has a lot more footwork and a lot of steps,
Yep.
and you see a dance that's more feet friendly, and I'd be
Mhm.
like, my beginners will love that one, and we'll
Yeah.
roll that way. But then you
Right.
got some dances that are feet friendly that I'd be like, nah, I'm gonna go with the one we got the most. Prime example, you got Tina. Is my girl named Tina? She made what's my girl? She is an artist that sang. She got the deep voice. What's the female artist? She got a real deep voice. Man Enough for Me. She sang a song, Man Enough for
Oh, you're
Me.
talking about Tina from Tina Jackson. Yeah.
Yes, yes. She had made a
Mhm.
dance to one of that song, one of her songs, the artist,
Mhm.
and it was feet friendly. It was definitely feet friendly. Then the guy from
Mhm.
Buffalo made the same dance too. I think his was called Eyes.
Okay.
And you know what I mean? It gave everyone the platform to decide, if they like this song, which dance they can do it to. So it,
And
it
that's and
made
that
room.
and that's what I told you about regions. Now you got Buffalo and you got
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. They're
Right.
separated by X number of miles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does it really have to cause that much drama because someone else did another dance to something else? The only
Mm-hmm.
dance I know where I had a question on what dance to do was when Blurred Lines came out.
Oh my
When
God. Oh God. I
when
heard about that story.
when Blurred Lines came out, I knew four different dances to Blurred Lines, but I knew that there were at least 75 to 100 different dances to Blurred Lines. So,
Mm-hmm.
what do you do in that instance? For me, if I know one of the four dances that I knew the Blurred Lines they were doing at any place where I was, I would
Mm-hmm.
do one of those four, only because I knew it.
Okay.
But if I didn't know it, and like we said, split floor, if you have a couple people who knew this dance, if I knew, and somebody
Yeah.
had another dance over there that they knew, do
Mm-hmm.
you, we'll do us, have a good time, go home. That's it.
Yeah. I agree, definitely. Yeah, I've seen that because blurred lines. That's actually the first dance I learned. Now I think about it. That was
Okay.
the first one, but I think I learned the Freddie Edmonds version over
Okay.
in Denver.
Yep.
So yeah, so that's the one I learned. But then there's some backstory on that. Rather
Mm-hmm.
not go into and all that stuff. uh, Anywho, hey, so real quick, just
Mhm.
want to leave it open for any questions out there. We got the X Man on here. You got to ask your question because this brother is hard to be caught. Yeah, as you can tell, he worked like 50 jobs, and he teach classes on the side, and he make time for his wife to do date nights and all that other stuff. So,
Got to do date
gotta
nights, man. Listen, you have to do date nights, and not only that, give them flowers while they can smell them.
Amen to that, man.
Yep.
Amen to that. Babe, you hear that? We
Absolutely.
got to go on a date, babe. We're gonna leave.
Yep.
We're gonna go on a date after this.
Dre,
After
if you
this.
don't, if Dre, if he don't take you on date night, call Vicky.
For real, man. But yeah, man. As you see in you know, the trail rider coming into the community, I know you seen like an influx of new people wanting to learn line dances.
Mhm.
Like, how's that changed as far as in your city, in your community? Like, how's that come about?
It doesn't because see, when I go to a class, and Vicky and I talk about this all the time, we try to have a playlist of what we think we may do in a class. And here's the thing about teaching a class, and I will say this to any instructor that's listening. When you teach a class, it's never about you.
Mm.
It's
Explain
about
that.
those who are coming to your class.
Okay.
Because the whole idea of this thing to me is that you're having people come to have a good time. You're having people come because they want to learn what you have to teach them. You want people to come so that they'll tell other people, so they'll bring them with them when they come. And so you have to be open to changing your agenda from what
Mm.
you were supposedly going to teach. Also, you have to listen to the people that are in your class. You have to go by the vibe that's in your class, because you may have had a playlist ready to teach in your class, but the vibe in the classroom that day differs from what you had on your playlist. And
I
so
agree.
you have to be professional enough and open
Which is
enough
best.
and
Mm.
flexible enough to
Mm.
change what you had on your list, because the vibe in the class drives that.
You know that, bro. I tell you, first of all, I definitely totally agree, and that is so challenging at times when you're dealing like my Riverview class is legit,
Mhm.
so I kind of know how to flow with them. But at the same time, with the newer classes that we have, it's a little
Mhm.
different because you want to move forward,
Right.
but you have a lot of new faces. So
Here's what I
now
say
you
about Here's what I
go
say
ahead.
about that. Now,
Okay.
everybody started somewhere as a beginner,
Okay.
right? And so now you have to remember when you were a beginner and you came to class and you see how you were treated. You weren't treated as an outsider, you were included in what was going on. So
Right.
now you got to do the same thing. They're coming behind you. They may
Mm-hmm.
not know everything that you know. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's why when I was teaching in Jersey and even here, we encourage folk to go to other classes, because I'm not going to know every line dance. I got 22 years of line dances in this brain, but guess what? I'm not going to know them all. So please go and learn people from other dancers from other classes. And then if you want to do one where we are, you can learn it, bring it here, and we'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because you don't want to limit. I don't like the fact of people limiting on whose class they go to, what dance they learn, and all that kind of stuff. To me, there's enough room for everybody.
Right.
So,
Right.
go learn. That's how I learned. I didn't learn all these dances just because I stayed in Kenny J's class. I
Right.
learned
Right.
because I went here, I went there, I went here, I went there, I went over there, I went over there, and I came back and I brought the dances to the classes that I learned. And then
Right.
I encourage that to other folk who come to my
Yeah.
class. If please go to another class. Tell us what they did. And if you want to do this last year, better yet, if you want to come to class and teach it, come on
Right.
and teach
Right.
it.
Right.
And
That's
that's how you kind of plant a seed in an instructor. Because I tell you
mm,
this story. I had no intentions of being an instructor when I started line dancing. None.
mm,
None. I was having so much fun line dancing with Kenny. It was just blew my mind.
mm-hmm.
Kenny was the one that encouraged me to become an instructor because I learned things so fast and I picked up so quickly. I had
Mm,
so it was from his lips to God's ears. And since then, over the last 20 plus years, I've taught pretty much all over this country. I've taught in 13 other countries outside of the United States
that's crazy.
because
That's
of
crazy.
because of what I learned from Kenny. And so it takes the right person to put the right bug in your ear to teach you the
Mhm.
right way to unlock the talent that God has inside of you. I had no idea I had this talent inside of me to teach
Right. Right.
until the right person came along
I agree.
to guide and show you, and show patience with you on
Mhm.
what you are capable of doing.
I agree. I agree. And that's so funny you say that because my story is similar. I've experienced where I learned dances. I went to three when I started. I went to three classes. They're like,
Mhm.
"Who group he in? He's in everybody group. He got a shirt from everybody."
Right.
you know, and it was an opportunity to learn and establish relationship with different people and this, that, and the other.
Right.
So definitely. And then as far as, but they shout out to Queen Sheila, and
Oh, bless her heart. Yes, yes, yes,
and
yes,
yeah,
yes.
and Ed and Deidre, they were the one that requested me to teach Queen tried to put me in a position to teach, and I was like, man, you crazy. I ain't teaching nobody. You know what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
I got to give shout out to Angie Causey too, because I used to show them dances, and then she'll throw you on the front stage. Start now you teach it and all that stuff. So definitely, a lot of support put me in that position. They've been doing that, but I didn't know unless they saw it in me first at the same
Right.
time. So I want to give love on that.
Absolutely.
I got to address these questions. So,
Sure.
Melly B, she said, with all the line dances out, how do you remember them all? It seems like the pros remember all the dances so easily. Yeah, I'm gonna let you hold that one. I'm gonna let you answer that one, bro.
I tell you, I will give you one action answer.
Amen.
It's not me, it's him, because he gives me the ability to remember. It is definitely not me. God has given me the ability to remember, and I learn dances very quickly. The other day, we in the room we were learning. I never learned. Was that Riding on A or whatever that won the award this year? And I seen it, but I never learned it. But I never took the chance to learn it. So
Right.
Vicky wanted to learn it.
Yeah.
She learned it, and then I watched her. I learned it from her, and she was like, "I know you can get it because you get dances quickly." I do. I just do. If I see a dance long enough, I'll pick it up. The dance that, and I think there's always everybody has a bugaboo dance that they want to learn so badly, do this on the floor and fake it till they make it. For me, that dance was intensity.
Whoa.
I learned intensity on the floor. Every time intensity came on, I was in the back, but every time that dance came on, shout out to Perry Womack. When he created that dance, I was like, I want to learn it, but there was no instructionals back then to do it. So the only way you learned it was to go on the floor. And I would probably say half of the dances that I know, I learned on the floor because I had that intention. I said, I gotta learn this. UK Soul Stepping is another one.
You taking it
Never
too far.
Saw the instructional, had to learn on the floor.
You're taking it too far. First of all, you ain't got to come on here bragging about how gifted and skilled you are. You can learn that. Intensity is not a dance you learn on the floor, guys. I'm just letting y'all know. Go check it. It is definitely not a dance you learn on the floor. You acting up, man, for real. So, but I feel you, though. I feel you. And even to your question, Melly B, I'll be honest with you. It's repetition. These dances that we do so much, we do it pretty often to the point where you rarely forget. Plus, as you get familiarized with a lot of these steps, you get familiarized with dances much easier. But the best way I can kind of help you see the reality of how it works, just think of music, certain songs that you like. You know a lot of songs, obviously, because you listen to it a lot and so on and so forth. That's how sometimes these dances are. So that's how that be. Let's take time, unless you know, this gifted guy right here, and he can figure out stuff. All right, so Evelyn said, are we open to taking requests from our students, even if you prepared a playlist?
That's Mother Earth. She's a Step for Step member in Jersey. Hey, Mother Earth. Yes, because one thing you want to do when you have a class is you want it to flow. You want it to have fun and you want it to flow. And so, but as we know, every time there's a flow, there's a little bump. You know, the flow has to go left a little bit before it comes back together. And so, I'd have no problem. That doesn't bother me at all. It really doesn't. I think it shows your openness, to the class where you're not so rigid. I think it offers an opportunity for a person who may have been shy in speaking, letting them know that they have a voice when they come to class, where it's not, regimented, like I'm a staff sergeant or a drill sergeant and they're a private and you're going to do what I say. And there's no going outside the lines. Like when you color, you can't color outside the lines. It's not that deep for me. If you have a dance that you want to do that the class can really pick up on really quickly, stop and do it. Or the option, I'll do it this time, we'll do it at the end of class.
Okay.
Because right now, the big thing that Vicky and I love is that dance by John Woodhouse.
Which one? Which one?
That
I know
slow
you
one?
got the memory.
Oh my
Which
God.
one? Sexy
Man,
one?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, social sexy?
So
Yeah,
sexy. Yeah.
man. Look, we do that dance. We take that dance and do theater on the dance floor. You
So
know?
so to her question though, because
Yeah.
I'm flexible, but then I have my moments where I'm like, nah, that ain't gonna work. But it's not so much in a sense of it ain't gonna work. It's sense of, and you can tell me, you can give me your point of advice in this situation. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know, you have your class, you know your class,
Mm-hmm.
you know, well enough. Let's say that to the
Right.
point where you kind of have an idea of what they'll take to, and you
Mm-hmm.
have an idea of where you're gonna be like, yeah, they're not gonna give you the same energy for this dance in a sense. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like, they dragging and oh, they playing this again type. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You kind of got a vibe on that.
Yeah.
And so since with that knowledge, then you have students that will submit requests for certain dances. And
Mm-hmm.
you know the dance, but you
Mm-hmm.
also know your class. And
Mm-hmm.
you like, how do you navigate in still being able to accommodate the requests, but also being mindful and knowing how it's literally going to affect the class in a certain way?
It depends on the time frame. And like I said, if there's enough time in the class, like if they told me at the beginning of the class and I know what's going on, who's going to be there, yeah, I'll make a mental note in my head to do it. And so if we get through everything, you go through the vibe, you go through the ebb and the flow of the class, and then I thought the back of my head, oh yeah, somebody wants to do whatever. If I got 15 minutes left in the class, yes, I'll do it. But if it's like in the middle of something, I will say, could you either wait until the next class, or maybe if we have a chance to do it at the end of this one, we'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because what you don't want to do, you don't want to shut folk down. Because when you shut folk down, you also end up shutting them out. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like we always know in life, bad news travels fast better than good. It's unfortunate,
Mm-hmm.
but it's true. And
Thanks.
so all it takes is that one person to say, I didn't like this. I would never go to his class again.
Right.
You got the whole situation happening. And so, will everything be perfect in the class? No, it's not. Life is not perfect. But
Right.
you want to give an environment where a person does have a little bit of a voice to the voice and
I
opinion.
agree.
That's
I
like
agree.
when you're in class, you're teaching a dance and you're in front. You can't always see people in the back,
Right.
right? And so you always turn around and say, does everybody have it? Any
Mm-hmm.
questions? And the people that are in your class because you can read their faces. They may not say anything, but you can look and say, I don't think you don't have to put them on blast, but
Mm-hmm.
you can say, I think maybe I'll do it again, just to make
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Right. I'll put them on a blast. I say, yeah, I'm looking at your face
You
right
don't know
now.
people out your class, man.
I be like, see, but they getting to know me. I'm getting them to get to know me. I like, I see what you're doing. You look like you ain't doing it right. You ain't
Mhm.
even got to say nothing. I see it in your face. But I
Right.
definitely agree with you on that. And I'm learning to be more flexible in regards to it too, because I know from the way I was brought up and the way I learned, if there was a dance that I requested that I liked, and let's say you didn't know it,
Mhm.
my instructor would have said, "Okay, not a problem. Teach it to the class."
I did
Like they
that.
put me
I
right in
did
the
that
position to
too.
do that. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? And
I
it's
do
not so
that.
much just like not to scare you, but to kind of position you to get in the habit. And the
Yep.
thing is, a lot of our students don't realize how well of a teacher they are because they find themselves teaching at home or teaching other people or even teaching during
Exactly.
the class. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? It's just the
Yep.
idea. And I'm gonna support you. I'm gonna be here to help you to make sure you communicate, translate, whatever like that. You're not gonna be on your own.
Hmm.
But it's so many dances that we as instructor have to learn to
Yeah.
prepare you and all that other stuff. It's kind of
Hmm.
challenging, at least from my end, to kind of like implement something that's going to take a lot more time to learn at the same time, depending on
Let
the
me say
dance.
this. Let me say this, and I will say this again to any person that has the ability or the wanting to teach. If you do not have patience, you cannot do this.
Oh no.
If you're a person that has a short fuse and the and the ha and all
Yeah,
that, you cannot do this
right.
because that's going to spill over into the people that are coming to your class. They're going to feel that vibe, and they are not going to want to come back. So you have to check yourself before you come to class. You got to check yourself at the door. Just like we want people to come to our class, check themselves at the door.
Yeah.
You as an instructor have to check yourself at the door, because you are the one that's setting the pace on how that class is going to go.
Hey, you so right on that, man. Because boy, I tell you, it be days where I wake up from a nap and the naps. Not the best. You know what I'm saying? But them early mornings, I give my wife props. My wife, she just take a sugar-free Red Bull poop and she popped up. She ready. I'm ready to teach. Now the thing is, I know her, so I see what she really is thinking. But,
here's the other thing, though, and I'll let you go into your question after this. Here's the other thing that's really, really important, and you got to take this into consideration. For that hour or the hour and a half, that person is coming to your class, right? You don't know what they're going through outside those doors before they get to you. You can be the person that will end up giving them purpose for not doing something either to damage to themselves or damage to their families or whatever negative action they can take, because you have them for that hour or that hour and a half. And for that time, you can have them laughing, forgetting about whatever issues they have before they come to your class. That was one of the reasons why I hated canceling classes, because of the fact that I don't know what effect me canceling a class is going to have on the person that's having some difficult issue outside those doors, where coming to my class will be their Shangri-La for that hour.
That's huge right there. And honestly, what you said is more of an affirmation to what my wife and I experienced, because we had a class we had to cancel. And the reaction we got from one of our students was extremely surprising. Like, because they needed the class for an emotional support and stability in a sense. All that stuff. But, we ain't thinking like that. We thinking we got a day off. Or we thinking we can get ready to go do stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you forget, you don't, for me, you don't realize how important, how relieving, mentally stimulating, and how this kind of really help people get through their week, or get through their day at the same time. So you saying that is huge, and it kind of makes me, put a little bit more, makes me realize the ministry we truly are in at the end of the day.
This is a ministry. This is a ministry, and you have to look at it that way. This is something that God is giving you to take a talent that you have been given to bless someone else who is going through. And you may be, and not even know it, you may be the one shining light that will make or break that person.
I love that.
And you don't even know it. You don't even know it.
Yeah, I love that. Because it put a lot of things in better perspective. It's not just a class anymore. Y'all literally have a church. On the real. Just with some booty shaking music in the background. Hey, let's go. I know that ain't in your class. Anyways, but yeah, man.
Oh goodness.
Outside of that, though, man. I don't want to take too much more of your time. If anything else, and so much stuff we want to address, but I want to go ahead and recognize a few things. First off, you mentioned to me, let me see if I can do this right. So it was a couple of things you gave me. One, you have your class. Let me see how I can do this so I can make it more. So we got your class here. You know what I mean? So you have your class in Jacksonville, and if you can't see it, let me see if I can maximize it. It basically shows what you got Wednesdays and first Fridays with X-Man and Spin. Spin.
Yeah, and that first Friday event is free.
Okay.
That's free. Every first Friday, that one is free. And we're trying to we had to fight the Y a little bit to do that because, they're sponsored and all this other kind of stuff. But we're trying to let them recognize, like, look, you got people coming in here. They're coming in here to dance. You may end up with a few more people registering to become Y members. So you have to you got to look at the bigger picture,
Right.
So,
That makes sense. Definitely. And then also, and I want to give a shout out to your wife, man. I'm gonna tell you, she spins so gracefully and effortlessly. I'd be jealous. I'm like, how the heck? I'm trying to work. How does she know when to stop? How does she keep going? So she definitely legit, man. I gotta work on my spin. And sister Spin Mo, they both showed out on me, by the way. They both showed out. That's how I became Spin Less. You know what I'm saying? So,
I remember that. I remember that.
Oh my goodness. So here we go. So we got this event. Tell me about this event. What's this event about?
Okay, so Dancing Doug Travel is headed by Douglas Cologne, who I have known since 1980. He was a former agent with the government. He was a federal agent. He retired and starting Dancing Doug Travel. This is the gentleman who has allowed me to teach and travel in other countries because he has this thing called Summer Madness, and they go to every different country, and we have a week's worth of fun and games and parties and all that. And so back in 2011, he lives in Atlanta. So back then he had asked me, he had seen me teaching in Jersey and whatnot. And he asked me to come teach, at his event. I'm like, okay, you're in Atlanta, no problem. No, he said Mexico. So I was like, what? So I had no passport at first. The only country I've been to outside of the U.S. was Canada. So, and I drove to Canada. So I had to get a passport and everything. And that first year that I went, it was me, it was a belly dancer and somebody else. And so I thought it was going to be a one-time thing. He said the feedback he got from me, from the people who were there in 2011, I have been his line dance instructor ever since then. So this one here, unfortunately, but understandably, will be the last Summer Madness trip. And so this is actually going to be in Cancun. You can go to, that's why I got the website for him up there. So if you want to go, I think they have some spaces left. There may not be too many at this point because we are leaving in July. And so that list of songs, so you see her there, we're going to be teaching those. So this is the last one. And so Vicky is actually selling fans for this event. And so we are going to be doing boots on the ground and all the other fan dances. We're going to go out with a bang because this is the last one. So we're going to go out with a bang. And so, yeah, he is a gentleman that has allowed me to teach in all the other countries. So my certification as an international consortium line dancer, I am really an international line dance instructor because I've been teaching in other countries for the last 15 to the last 17 years.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. Definitely. Okay. And let me see if I can get the other photo up. Give me 1 second.
Sure.
That you sent me. And let me know if my computer's still doing what it's doing. All right. So the next one I got here is this event.
Yes. Yep. That's our Step for Step event next month. That's our 70s Soul Party. We usually have 2 major events every year in the spring and in the fall. So this is the theme for our party in the spring. It is on Saturday, May 10th. You want to come, please get your tickets. It's in Jersey. Come on, come on. We're looking forward to it. Bring your bell bottoms, your afros, your dashikis, whatever. Bring them all. Right. But most of all, bring your energy and bring your fun.
Okay. Cool. Definitely. And let's see if I can add something else on here. Let's see here. Well, I ain't gonna even try that because I don't know. I might shut everything down. So we're gonna start that if anything. But okay, and also I want to give a shout out for everybody that's joining the live. I do appreciate y'all. I hope y'all, since y'all been here, liked, shared, subscribe at the same time, because like I said, the whole agenda is to talk to the community, get more insight, learn the history that we need to learn about it, and also just get a different perspective and take on how things are happening and how things are evolving in our community, just from individuals who've been in the game for a minute at the same time. So I do thank y'all for joining in on that, but make sure y'all done that. And shout out to the people who donated and supported. We do appreciate all donations. Like I said, we're monetized now. So that definitely help us continue to do the things that we're doing right now. So your support helps me fulfill the mission and purpose of what we're trying to accomplish in our city or in our community as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, is there any events, or you mentioned the events, but anything that you want to kind of like share with the, before you go into it, let me put it out my first.
Mm-hmm.
Events right now, we just came from Akron, Ohio,
Mm-hmm.
but next two events we're going to is Rondi. That's the third weekend of May, I think. I think his
Mm-hmm.
event is third weekend of May. Everybody know about Rondi's event. That's where everybody do the family union on the south side. Everybody come together, south, the south and the east coast and all that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then also Nikki from Omaha,
Uh-huh.
Nebraska,
Yep.
Nikki and Wendy, they have their event. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
May 23rd through the 25th. They're on the last sales now, so they about to get ready to close out. So
Oh,
if
that's
you haven't
great.
got it, be good out there, support, because we will be there doing our thing at the same time. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anything you want to say, because we want to go ahead and I don't want to take too much more of your time.
I,
Anything you want to
um, as,
people?
as as far as where we're going, we have our May event. We're going to that, the Step for Step event. In July is the Dance and Duck Travel Summer Madness 17 event. That's in July. And then we're going on the cruise with Carlos and the Line Dance Ruby Cruise, the whole darn ship. We're doing that in August.
Mhm.
And then after that, are you going to that? Are you going to the
Unfortunately, we won't be able to
cruise?
make it. Yeah, we won't be
Oh,
able to
wow.
make it. We wanted to. I
Okay.
know. I know.
Okay, we're doing
Um,
that, and then after that, October, we have a Step for Step in October, but that's it. But I do want to mention this comment that I see in the line here from Pamela,
mhm.
and she said she suffers from anxiety and depression, and my episodes have gotten less since I've been line dancing. The people are so nice; they know when I'm not well and always give me words of encouragement.
Mm,
That's what I'm talking about when I say that this is a ministry, because
mm,
what we do is helping that person right there. And there's probably others like her that
mm.
also are dealing with certain issues and concerns, and coming to line dancing is helping them cope. And that's what we do.
I love that.
So
I
thank
love
you,
that.
Pamela. Thank you so much
Definitely.
for putting that
Definitely,
there.
man. Thanks, Pam, for sharing that. Definitely. All right. Well, hey, man, no more of your time is going to be taken, man. I do appreciate you even giving me your time to speak, just to kind of give us insight and everything else.
Hmm.
And you definitely, I love the fact that you're doing what you're doing. Some people find that a little bit more challenging to do what you're doing. You move to a whole nother state and it's building again. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I think that takes a lot of courage and bravery in doing that as well.
Hmm.
But other than that, if y'all don't have anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and close out. But I do appreciate y'all. Also, stay tuned. What we're gonna do, we're gonna have. I'm gonna try. I apologize to the people that supporting. I try to be on here every week. That ain't happening. Life happens, so that ain't happening. But what I will do my best to do is to make you aware of any new guests that we're gonna have on Wednesdays, whether it's pre-recorded or if it's live. So I'll keep y'all posted and up to date. But I do thank y'all for even chiming in and enjoying it at the same time. But that's, man, I do appreciate your time. So we're gonna end it out. Any other thing you need to say before I let close out?
I thank you for coming on. I see what you're doing, and
Mhm.
you are part of the younger generation that is going to take over when people like me retire. Although
Mhm.
people see me on the dance floor and say he's not
You ain't want
retiring.
to go. Yeah, you ain't ready to go. You ain't ready to go at all, man. I mean, you looked at me one time we was there. You were like, "You gonna keep up?" I'm like, "Keep up. Calm down. Calm down. Calm down a
But
little bit."
you're doing great things, and like I said, thank you again for the opportunity to share my experiences with you. I greatly
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
it, and we know we'll see each other somewhere again.
Yes, sir. Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. I got to get you down. I got to get you eventually to come down here anyway, because you got them classes. You got to show us.
Oh, it would be our honor and pleasure to do that.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Well, other than that, appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Stay
All right.
tuned for the
Thank you.
next. All right. Deuces.
All right. Have a good one.
Mm-hmm.